When I was a couple years old, I walked off the end of the dock at a family member's cottage and was absolutely traumatized. A couple weeks later, my mother tried to take me to learn to swim lessons and I refused to get in the pool. It took me a really long time to get comfortable with the water. And ultimately, it was just me being incredibly stubborn and the sort of person who needs to and wants to overcome their fears that ultimately pushed me to learn to swim and then to become so proficient at it that I was a competitive swimmer for several years and also a lifeguard. And so that's my history with swimming. It's a really deep history with water, and I know that there's probably some people out there watching this who want to get into the pool in a more consistent way. And I just want to encourage you that whether you're overcoming a fear at 2 years old or 22 years old or 62 years old, they say it's hard to learn to drive after you turn 40, but it's not impossible. And so I really want to encourage you, if swimming's something that's been a part of your life or been a fear in your life, that this is something you can do. This video is intended to just kind of walk you through some of the things you might want to think about before getting back in the pool, some of the things that I've sort of gone through in terms of picking the way that I was going to go back and train, some of the equipment I've selected to do that, and then just what has my first week or so looked like getting back into the pool, working competitively with my coach, with my team, and also just a couple stories along the way. Hi there, Islanders. Welcome to another part of my island. Today we're in my laundry room as I'm getting ready to pack for my first swim practice in quite a long time. And I want to take you along to kind of demystify what you need to get started with swimming or to go back to the pool, because I know it can be super intimidating when it's been a really long time since you've gotten back in the water. It was the same for me last year, and so I want to share some tips and tricks. I will link anything that I purchased on Amazon down in the description box below in case you are curious or wanting to purchase some for yourself. You guys are hanging out in my laundry room, so all of this is set up on my dryer right now, so if you hear a bit of bumping, that's what's going on. First thing I purchased last year, and you forget about it, but it's so important for keeping your hair healthy, is Ultra Swim shampoo and conditioner. So I do keep them in just a little Ziploc bag. One of the things I've also found, obviously I showed you my shampoo and conditioner, is that many community centers are now very similar to hotels in that they do have, body wash and shampoo and conditioner hanging on the walls. So you don't need to be thinking as much about taking soaps and things to the pool as you would previously. The main reason I carry my own shampoo really is just because I do have very long hair. In my side is my hand paddles. So they do have some ones that are a little bit more ergonomic now, but if you were just starting back out and you have something for your old equipment, it's a good thing to just reuse them to save a little bit of money and to save the planet, because most of these are some pretty scary plastic. A tip for finding some of that equipment, if you don't want to use the links that I've provided, is to be looking for the brand names that you trust. So I've bought TYR fins, I've bought a Speedo bathing suit, I've been buying, caps and goggles and things like that from brands like Nike, which might be a little bit higher of a price point, but you definitely know what you're gonna get in the package. Next up, I have purchased a new pull buoy. So you can borrow these at the pool, but considering where you keep your pull buoy, I just thought it would be a good idea to buy a new one. I purchased this one on Amazon. It was super cheap and really helpful. Some purchases won't require that high price point, so I bought an unnamed pull boy because it's a piece of foam, right? I also purchased some of these microfiber towels on Amazon. I'm finding for people who have longer hair like I do, these are really great hair towels, but not fantastic body towels. So I do tend to carry one of these and one sort of more traditional towel. Make sure you have enough towels for every practice you have this week. Otherwise, you could find yourself taking one out of the bathroom. Now, I did purchase fins again, new ones. My old ones had kind of started to deteriorate, and also, you know, your foot size might have changed, and these smaller ones are a lot easier on my knees if I forget I'm wearing them and do like a whip kick or something like that. So really important to have a pair of fins. These are also going to really help you out when you're getting back into the pool, because they're going to give you a lot more power through the legs, which is easier on your shoulders and allows you to focus a little bit more on technique. My coach actually asked us to also have a snorkel to help us keep our head position in the water when we're working on drills, but we don't use this very often, so I would definitely check with your coach before purchasing this. Also, for those of you, as you can probably guess, I am incredibly short-sighted. I was able to purchase prescription goggles on Amazon as well. They're not perfect, but they are really close. So I used the prescription that came on the box actually for my contact lenses to figure these out. And then obviously when I am wearing contact lenses, I'm using a more traditional racing goggle, and I've got a few different pairs. Definitely like to keep these all together in a little bag. This is just one of those bags that some clothing came in from Costco, and I think, you know, just this is I gotta tell you, this swim cap, which I just started wearing last season, I think maybe need replacing, and I do have a team cap somewhere. And finally, for those of us who wear regular glasses, don't forget you do need a glasses case in your swim bag to protect your glasses when you're wearing your goggles. And also you're going to want, obviously, a padlock. So all of this goes into my gym bag, which I've actually owned a really long time. It's just something I bought at Winners, but you don't need anything fancy. Really, the lesson is you want to get back into the pool as quickly as possible. We'll also take a look, obviously, at some of my gear, so my swimsuit and some of my team gear, and also as we go off to the pool together, we'll take a look at some of the other considerations that you might want to have. If you're anything like me, especially if you stopped swimming without a plan, you probably put your suit away wet or covered in chlorine and may need a new one. I had to buy one from Amazon this week because my old one is just falling apart at the seams. This is one of those weird little quirks, I think, about swimming equipment that you maybe don't get with certain other sports, is it is already so damaged by that chlorine that sometimes when you go back to start using it again, it needs replacing. My next big purchase that I'm currently doing research for is actually for a swimming specific watch. So a lot of people don't realize that the watch I wear that is an analog watch actually is a hybrid smartwatch. So it vibrates for things like cell phone calls and can track things like my sleep or my steps. But it can't do swimming, and it doesn't do, you know, heart rate and that sort of thing. So definitely something I'm researching, definitely something I'm happy to take everybody along for the ride with, if that's something that would be of interest to other people who are getting back into swimming or looking to sort of upgrade some of the tech they use around their swimming. For me, I always have an asthma inhaler. I keep a separate asthma inhaler in what is also my gym bag. So one of the big things that you likely saw as I was packing up my swim bag in particular is that there's an asthma inhaler in there. So I was diagnosed around 10 years ago, and I was actually in the process of training for a long distance bike ride at the time. And it really not only threw off kind of that training sort of pattern, but also reignited a bit of that fear in terms of what the boundaries of my cardio capacity were relative to when I was 15, 16, 17 years old. And, you know, I do have to manage the situation, but it's never been an issue. I mean, I've taken in a couple lungfuls of water and it's totally doable, but it's definitely one of those things. I do want to stress that when I did go back into the pool the first time, I did have a conversation with my doctor. Obviously, I'm not a medical professional, but while I want to encourage people to look at ways to overcome illness and injury, I do want to remind you that these are the sorts of things where sometimes you want to do that with a little help from your friends. And in this case, by friends, I mean people who you trust with your health and who you work with as part of your team, whether that's your physiotherapist or your GP or somebody else. As a young Canadian teen in 1992, I watched Mark Tewksbury win the gold medal in Barcelona in the 100-meter backstroke. And I think, as a lot of people that age, I was absolutely mesmerized by the entire aquatics team, watching Canada bring home gold, and really wanted to give it a try for myself. That's what drove me into the pool. And I continued to swim competitively until I was about 16 or 17 years old. And then I switched from competitive swimming to high school team swimming for a couple more years. I was really lucky to get to compete at OFSA one year, which is the Ontario High School Championships. When I was in university, I perhaps semi-famously chose my alma mater based partially on the fact that I absolutely loved the pool, which I then proceeded to not really use very much. And since then, I've really swum a few times a year here and there, but never really gotten back in and trained in a really thoughtful and consistent way. I think one of the big debates when you get back into swimming or any sport is, am I going to go it alone? Am I going to do it with a group? Do I need a coach? And I know for me, I have what Gretchen Rubin would call the obliger personality. And so I find that I am most successful in reaching goals when I can tie it to an obligation that I have to another person or other people. So for me, the answer was definitely a team as opposed to an individual. And then for me also, getting back into a sport after a long time, having the ability to have that coach in place and to have workouts being set in a really thoughtful way has been really, really helpful to getting me back in the pool and keeping me back in the pool and keeping me healthy and injury free. Because that's one of those big things when you go back in as an adult, is making sure that you are not overtaxing yourself, that you're not slipping back into bad technique. You know, I have a bit of a crossover when I'm swimming now, and that's really hard on my shoulders. So having somebody there to be watching and reminding me not to be doing that has definitely kept me a lot healthier in the pool, and avoided, you know, some of those re-injuries that could have come up from things that I was struggling with when I was a swimmer in my teens. And I'm really in a great group of people. So anybody who's watching this who's in Markham, Ontario, or in the Markham, Ontario area, definitely check out Markham Masters. Our coach, Lucien, is fantastic and super supportive of all skill and ability levels. So definitely what you're looking for with a coach is that ability to kind of adapt to your skill level. And what you're looking for with a team, I think, is also people who have varied skill levels, people who are doing it for fitness, for triathlons, and also for competitive swimming. So what does my swim schedule look like? Well, I swim with the Markham Masters, and I will definitely place a link below in case anybody's interested in finding out more about the team. We swim Sundays from 7:30 to 9. Here's the reality. It is 4:42 on Sunday evening, and I'm eating dinner, and I'm actually a few minutes too late. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8:30 to 10. Another early afternoon meal, heading back to the pool, something that was easy to warm up and super filling. So that is 3 1.5 hour workouts. So already that's a good chunk of time to be back in the water. And then on top of that, because of where it sits in my day, I have to really plan around that in terms of making sure that I'm eating at the right time, so I'm not sort of like overstuffed and full in the pool, but not needing to eat at 10 or 10:30 at night and sort of interrupt that sleep cycle. And I think a lot of teams really do tend to train in those evening or very early morning hours because you're working around swim lessons and younger competitive swimmers. So really important thing to consider is, do you have flex in that end of your day and then also sort of in the beginning of the next day to kind of allow you to cushion those workouts into your schedule?
Real talk, about to start workout number 3 since being back in the pool. Feeling a little sore, a little tired, a little apprehensive. You know, it always feels better once you get into it, but it's the, 1 square foot of real estate discussion with yourself about just like, coming to the pool and then getting out of the car and then getting in the water and then starting the workout. And that's totally normal and natural for everybody. And it's just going to happen and you got to roll through it.
One of my favorite sayings of all time is, do something every day that scares you. And most days the scary things are really subtle. They're really small. They're a difficult conversation. They're, being the first to introduce yourself to somebody, something like that. And today the scary thing was definitely something a little bit easier to define. So today was my 3rd practice back in the pool. It's, sort of like early mid-September, and we've been back since Sunday. Today is Thursday, and today I got up on the starting blocks and dove in the water, and I wasn't actually afraid of diving in. Like, that was not the fear. The fear was actually getting up on the blocks because I have really bad balance, and I was really, really concerned that I was gonna like tip off the side of the blocks onto the pool deck instead of into the water. And worst fears were not realized, and everything worked out really well. And so I'm, relaxing here at home and about to, just start to unwind for the evening, knowing that I accomplished something pretty amazing today. And so, there's so many things in this life that we do that seem really insurmountable. And a lot of this is kind of the meat and potatoes of why I started the One Woman Island, which was wanting to really empower myself, but also empower other people to just keep trying, keep doing the scary things, keep chipping away at things. And as with almost everything that I've done on this channel so far, I wasn't alone. There were, my teammates were there, my coach was there, and just like everything we do, where no person is an island. You might be in your own head, and swimming is a really independent sport, so a lot of the time you are in your own head. You're just swimming along. I tend to count, but then my mind wanders. But at the same time, there's people around you, there's people in the lane with you. When you get to the end of a rep or a set or a swim and you sort of pop your head up at the other end, there's other people there, and you're encouraging each other and you're chatting with each other, and everybody's keeping each other's spirits up. And really, those are the kinds of things that that really make the do something every day that scares you possible. And so I really just wanted to pop on tonight and give everybody that thought.
As I mentioned at the top of this video, ultimately I took up swimming to overcome a personal fear. And I frankly still feel that fear sometimes. Sometimes I get up on the starting blocks in the deep end and I look down at the bottom of the pool through all of that water and I think to myself, what are you doing here? I just want to sort of put that out there because So much of why I created this YouTube channel, The One Woman Island, is about empowering myself. It's about empowering other people. And I want to be really clear and authentic about the fears that I have, the fears I've held, the fears I've overcome, to encourage other people to get out there and try new things or old things that seem challenging. You know, there's a lot of self-talk that's had to go into getting back into the pool, and I hope that it encourages other people to do the same thing.